typically, this time of year, we talk about budget. That felt maybe a little tone deaf, to say the least, this time of year. So we decided that was not the best course, and we were going to just kind of go with what was happening in the world. Right now, and we've seen actually kind of uptick in everything from child abuse cases to domestic violence to just kind of people just being a little depressed. So we thought that given everything that was happening, especially with the parents ready to give the kids back to their teachers, this might be a better course for today's meeting. So we invited Dr. Hilton, who I'll let introduce herself. I actually got to see her at a faith leaders breakfast that East River hosted, and that was awesome. We do need to run through just like our minutes from the last meeting and that type of thing. Laura, I don't know if it makes sense to kind of email out the minutes, or if we want to like share the screen and let people read and approve. We can totally email them out and kind of share them that way, because it already sucks to review minutes. Um, but that's about it. At the end of the meeting, so we can let a few people join, we'll talk about our options for elections, since we could not have possibly planned for all that is happening in the world with COVID-19. We kind of want to get your feedback around best course of action around best course of action. And so we'll revisit that at the end of the meeting. That is the end of my spiel for today. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Hilton. Yeah, I think that's it. Dr. Hilton?
Oh, I had to unmute myself. Hello. We're so happy that you were able to come in. And oh yeah, I forgot to get my virtual background. I like that. This I see Brian has a really nice one. I forgot to get mine. I should have done that. How's everyone doing? We're going to get a chance to answer that question. There are several little formats that we're going to use, since this was out. I hear you said this is your first Zoom meeting, and we're sharing screens here. So there's two ways we're going to communicate: by way of chatting. And I don't know if you want to do a little tutorial on how to find the chat, because now I have a different screen than usual, so I'm not seeing how to chat. Do you see that?
The chat should be on your right-hand side under participants.
Yeah, but see, I don't see any of that now. For some reason, that is not showing me. Oh, there it is. It was hiding. So we're going to use the chat. So we're going to ask certain questions, to just chime in with the chatting. And if you want to speak, unmute yourself and just raise your hand and just let us know. This is a very casual conversation around finding our calm during a period of time when none of us have ever experienced anything like this. So we're talking about creating an atmospheric shift, but not just at home within ourselves, but at home and in our communities and beyond. Let's see. There's another format we wanted to use, and that is the whiteboard. Were you able to find out how we could use that? Because I'm seeing now, I still don't see the whiteboard on here, because we wanted you to be able to chime in interactively, and maybe not, if not this time, definitely the next time when you meet. So we'll get to that when we get to it. So I'm Ivy Hilton. I'm a Washingtonian and a graduate of DC Public Schools. And I happen to be a licensed psychotherapist in DC with a clinical social work background. My company is Youth and Families in Crisis Ma'at Training Institute for Restorative Justice. And we've been bringing restorative justice to the city now for 20 years. But it seems like one day we went to sleep and woke up and everybody wanted to know what restorative justice is. Yeah. So I'm really happy. Oh yeah, that light was too much, too bright there. All right, that's better. So I wanted to start this conversation in a circle format. And the virtual circle is done this way. I open up with a bell, and then we go from person to person and ask how you're feeling and something good that has happened for you today. Being that we're on this Zoom, and I'm not sure exactly how many, we've got 26 people, so we use the chat for you to chime in, say who you are, and something really great that you can find that has happened to you today. So let's start the share circle by starting with the opening bell. The circle is now open, and we welcome you to chime in. So just begin to go into chat and tell us who you are and something great that has happened to you today.
Hi, this is Sean Goff. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm with Friendship Public Charter School.
Hello.
And it's been fantastic to know that the Ward 7 Education Council, I think, is probably the first organization, community-based, to do this. And that's huge. So thank you, Ebony, and your leadership on that.
Awesome.
But we're doing some fantastic interactive learning, virtual learning with our children. And the population of children and families that we serve, there are concerns about anxiety, being cooped up in the same place, the anxiety of parents that might not necessarily know algebra or geometry to be able to work with their children. And so I'm really excited to hear about what dialogue we can have with regard to that and how to give our parents an opportunity to cope with that anxiety. So I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you. I think we will continue for those that would like to speak, but those that would like to chat, your response.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I love the interaction. We just have so many. I'm not sure if we can get to everyone. So we do want to make sure everybody, yeah, there you go. That's beautiful. About to get the kids ready for bed, but listening. All right, very good. So just continue. Who would like to go next? We heard from Brian. Hi, Brian. Hi, Sharona.
Hi.
All right. Anyone else like to share who you are and something really great that you did today?
I'll go. This is Ebony Rose. I shared with some of the people on our team who's been doing meal deliveries that I had a grandmother call back and actually thank us for the delivery, and she left me the sweetest voicemail, and that was awesome because after taking calls all day and people just asking for things and some of the things you can't do for them,
Yeah.
somebody actually call back and say thank you meant a lot.
Awesome.
And it didn't just make my day, it made a couple people's day because I was able to share with them and thank you.
Beautiful. Somebody else. Well, I'll chime in. So for me, we have my husband and I have a puppy who does not like to get dirty, and he's a poodle, Schnauzer, and he kept telling me he wanted a bath, and this morning he made sure that I gave him a bath. So that's my good news for today. I gave my puppy a bath. Anybody else? All right, so everybody's chimed in. We've heard from everyone that needs and wants to speak up. But now we want to go into what we call the mindful moment. And when we teach circle in restorative justice, we always teach that we start with a mindful moment. And the reason for that is to be able to center, to clear. We love going into what we call theta, brainwave frequency, because that is the place where the brain is able to receive new information and retain it the longest. So for those that are interested, and if you're driving, please do not participate, Sharona, but just listen very deeply. I have some music that I want to share with you as you prepare to go into a mindful moment with me. And I invite you to just simply close your eyes. And you can not mute, but stop video at this point so that you can be to yourself and comfortable. And I invite you to take a deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs completely with air.
Like, he's giving out these packs. She's like, "You want one?" I was like, "Well, I mean, since you're here, take it." I'm on another Zoom.
If you're on mute, we're in the middle of a mindful moment, so please, everybody, be sure that you are muted in your microphone. And just allow your shoulders to droop down, 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 deeper into relaxation. Taking another deep breath in, filling your lungs with air. And exhale. Focusing your attention to the center of your forehead. Bringing your awareness to all of the thoughts that are flowing. Just allow those thoughts to flow. Resisting the urge to hold on to any one thought. Just let it go. Letting go. Letting go. Going deeper and deeper into relaxation. Deeper and deeper into surrender. Taking another deep breath in. And exhale. This time, allow your shoulders to droop down even deeper and deeper into relaxation. Bringing your attention back to the center of your forehead and your thoughts. And watching it as if you were watching on a movie screen. Let them go one by one. Releasing the attachment to the story. Releasing the emotion of the memory. Until you find yourself in this moment. Noticing your fingers and your toes. Noticing if there's any discomfort or tension in your neck, shoulders, abdomen, lower back. And just allow those muscles to release and let go. Letting go, letting go, letting go. Going deeper and deeper into relaxation, deeper and deeper into surrender. And the only time that matters is right now. There's nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just being still. Taking another deep breath, filling your lungs completely with air. And exhale slowly through your mouth, pushing all of the air out of your lower abdomen. And gently begin to move your fingers and your toes. Stretching your neck to the left, gently, slowly. And then stretching your neck muscles to the right, gently and slowly. And allow your head to stand straight up. And when you are ready, slowly open your eyes, blinking them 2 or 3 times before you open them completely. And welcome back. And please bring yourself back to your video because it's very helpful for me when I can see everybody. So, the mindful moment is really important because when we practice mindfulness, we're tuning our thoughts in to the sensation of the moment, the sensation of where we are right now. And this is a skill that we're going to have to learn how to practice more and more. I'd like to open the chat now just for sharing what that mindful moment experience was like for you. Relaxing, peaceful, insightful. Wonderful. And see, what that proves, Sharona, is that you don't necessarily have to close our eyes or get in a bathtub to relax. We can breathe and focus our attention on the moment. And I think we're in a time globally where we've got to begin to appreciate the moments more and more and spend more time in those moments because the stress and the anxiety is very strong right now. Thank you all for sharing. So this is where we have an opportunity for another group chat, and also you may unmute yourself and share. Just your insights and your thoughts about what do you see? What do you notice about this major paradigm shift that we're in right now? What is something that has come up for you that really makes you give deep thought and contemplation about what this global pandemic is really all about for you in your life? Someone please take the talking piece and you'll be the first to speak.
Well, this is Sean Goff again, and I'm really concerned about our young people being attentive on what's going on. I have concerns about them doing distant learning and not really fully engaging themselves into it. I could see the potential of a rise of violence as a result of our young people hanging out in the street across the city. And I think that many of our parents have an anxiety associated with the thoughts that I shared.
Yes. And I think we need another series of conversations on what can we do about that right now. We want to hear from you so that we can share and be supportive of one another. I'm worried about my students even more than ever not being able to see them, Laura. And is there some way that we might be able to get an opportunity to see our students? Can you see?
Yeah.
Can you see them when you're doing distant learning? I'm not sure. I have not done that before.
Yeah, we do that, but it's nothing like giving a child a hug
Oh, yeah.
when they might need it. to show that that nurturing care, that you actually care about them, to maintain that consistency of nurturement that they need, especially, you know what I'm saying, with our young people and that might not necessarily get it at their home or in their community.
Yes. And I noticed that Ashley put something that really triggered my interest because of what we're doing and attempting to do with restorative justice from the balanced approach perspective. She spoke on public accountability, and the balanced approach to restorative justice and education means has I guess we call it a pillar that we call collective accountability. And I love what she's saying, that how this paradigm is really, this shift is really, oh, I'm sorry, I mean to stay right there. This shift is a serious mind shift, and things are going to be different. And I love the new creative ways that people are doing things that we should have thought of a long time ago.
This
What?
is Arlene. Can you
Yes,
hear me?
yes,
I, I'm really concerned about young people and the trauma that is potentially will be experiencing over the next 3 to 4 weeks. DC, in relative terms, have not been hit as hard as other cities with COVID. I am from Detroit, and for instance, I already know 5 people who have passed from it.
wow.
And and then I know a lot more people who are impacted and actually have the virus, on ventilators, in comas, all kinds of things like that. And I'm just really concerned with the physical health of our community and the potential impact because of pre-existing conditions,
Yeah.
and the amount of loss that could happen. And I don't know that the systems are set up to handle that. And even, and not to be even more of a downer, you know, the way people have to grieve under these conditions where you can't even bury your family and celebrate their life. I mean, there's just a lot of potential life-altering experiences. And I just don't know that we've thought about that being added to already the mix of trauma that our young people in many cases are already have experienced.
That opens up a serious door for discussion, as well as coming up with some very serious solutions, because this is a whole new level of trauma, a trauma that brought the entire world to its knees. Thank you for sharing that. Someone else, what do you notice about this major paradigm shift?
Hi, this is Vanola.
Hi.
And I think what I notice about it from the perspective of my job, what I do, and also from the perspective of my personal life, with respect to my job, I think it's revealed a lot of inequity in our education system. We're now trying to, convince, well, I guess we've already convinced them to a certain degree, that distance learning, I realize it caught all of us by surprise, but implementing it and moving forward with it with such intentionality, and not realizing that approximately 40%, 30 to 40% of our students do not have the equipment at home or the internet service to do the work. So there is a considerable amount of inequity in the system, and this lays it bare more than anything I've ever seen. With respect to my personal life, it makes me appreciate my family more. I've been WhatsApping everybody in the Bahamas that I know, when literally I'm just running, and I never think of contacting them. So I think it makes you stop and take, be very careful to appreciate the people in your life who mean something to you, and to make a point to express it.
Thank you for that. It certainly is bringing conversations that I've been wanting to have for a long time. I've even just staying connected to people and really realizing that this is something that we've got to prepare ourselves for. Nothing we can do to stop it, but we can do things to support ourselves, surround ourselves with those things that we need to find comfort, but also to provide that same level of comfort for those that we love as well. Thank you.
Excuse me for interrupting, but the queen that previously spoke, I didn't get your name, but I'm taking notes on everything, and I would love to, for friendship, to be able to be in communication with all you guys, you ladies.
That sounds wonderful. Are we?
What was the sister's name that just spoke about the technology disparity?
Vanola Roll.
Oh, Valerie and Marla.
Someone else? Anybody else?
Thank you.
So here's the next question. What's on your mind? What has been the most difficult for you during this time of change and challenge? And please remember to chat as well in the chat box your answers to these questions.
Mm.
What has been most difficult for you during this time of change and challenge?
So this is Karen.
Hey, Karen, we can hear you.
So this is Karen. I think what's been most difficult for me is no matter what I do, I don't feel that I'm really doing enough to help. I feel that my life has been blessed. I'm a native Washingtonian going to school in here and have spent most of my career in education. And I just don't feel that I can personally do enough to make a difference to improve the situation that we find ourselves in these days. I used to not want to get up in the morning, but now everything will tell you we're up every morning talking at 8 o'clock in the morning, figuring out how we're going to navigate the next day and what our priorities are for the day and who needs food and who needs what. So that has been a blessing, Ebony. Thank you that you've been so supportive and willing to work with me as I learn the system that we're developing day by day to make sure that those in need get what they need.
Yeah.
But I still don't feel that it's enough because there's still so many people who are suffering.
There are a lot of people suffering, and I'm not sure if any one of us can do what is enough. It's kind of hard because here we are stuck in the house. Right. And the thing is, this is why I want to talk a little bit about what I call emotional entrainment and some things that we can do. I don't know how many praying people we have on the line or even how appropriate it is, but forgive me, Ebony Rose. I have to say that this is where the power of prayer and meditation comes in. Because really, and I want to talk a little bit about the science of that. And soon as we get through, trying to hear from as many people as we can before we have to leave this evening. It's important to know what has been so difficult. And I really love these comments that are being made, thinking about where to start to impact change after this. That's a really good one. Because in my mind, I keep trying to think, what does this look like on the other end? What are all of the systems that are being impacted? And in some kind of way, I can't get my mind out of the homes of some of the students that I know and that I work with and just trying to visualize myself there. And what are they experiencing and what kind of support will they need? Someone else.
Well, this is Vanola again. I wonder what it would look like for our homeless population after this. Because I think we've been pretty much neglectful of them. And would this really help us to see that, they deserve help too, they deserve attention too, because scripture talks of what you do to the least of them, you actually do unto me. So
Yes, yes.
how do we really treat the least of them, and how will we treat them after this is all over and we're all kind of been brought to our knees in a sense?
Right.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Someone else.
About this cataclysmic change that we're living under now. When this stops, when this is over, it's going to be a greater change than what we're experiencing now.
Yeah.
And that is what we have to prepare for. We have to get through this and be prepared to be shocked all over again.
Yeah.
And I don't quite know how to do it, but we need to begin thinking about it. This came up on us and boom.
Yeah.
Now we know we have a period of time and there's going to be a big change again. We haven't talked about or thought about the economic impact that it's going to be. And we know that our citizens, our children are very often at the bottom of that totem pole. We have to find a way to use the politics, the praying, the everything that we have at our disposal to try to be ready for what's coming when you don't know exactly what's coming. That's the reality. And Ivy, how you doing?
I'm wonderful, Mr. Fisher. It's so good to see you. I want your wife to be standing behind you in a minute.
Well, you see her name there. You know?
Oh, is she here? Oh,
No, she's upstairs.
oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so you are so right. And even for our own personal selves, what is this going to look like financially in the end?
Yes.
Should we be running to get your money out of the bank because everything's electronic, and if it all shuts down, how do you get it out of there? And so it's a lot going on. So let's move on, unless somebody has and you can continue to send us messages through the chat. That I hope we can save these, because you may want to keep these Ebony Rose, because they're really very powerful comments. Let me see. Now, how are you keeping yourself grounded and managing the stress? Because this is huge. This is like way beyond my comprehension sometimes when I think about it. But we still are real. We're still here. We're still alive. We still have energy. And I just believe this is a major global paradigm shift from darkness into light. And that alone helps me find my peace, because I see peace at the end of this. Somehow it must be. But how are you keeping yourself grounded? And how are you managing stress?
Can I just acknowledge that I'm probably not managing?
Let's talk
I'm
about that.
just kind of moving. I'll probably feel it later, because I definitely wake up really tired. And I actually talk to Karen every morning, because she's been managing the call line for us. So and so she takes that 9 a.m. shift. And so when I called to set her up, like I called this morning, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I think I am." And so it has been good to kind of have points of connection with people, but I can't say that. I think sometimes it's okay to acknowledge too when we may not be managing well, whether we realize it or not.
Yes, thank you for your honesty. And I'm going to end with some ideas, but I thought maybe I'll do it now. Can y'all see this?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody know about this product?
Nope.
Okay.
Yes.
So Calm it's magnesium, right? But it's a drink that you can take at night. And I went to a wellness spa in Mexico last year. And one of the things that they made sure everybody did after 9 o'clock, they disconnected all electronics, computers, phones. You couldn't even charge your phone up. So you needed to charge your phone up before 9 p.m. And then they made everybody take this. But I noticed that drinking this at night with my chamomile tea really helped me to sleep deeper. So this is an idea that you might want to try, Ebony Rose.
Oh, Ashley? I actually bought one of those when I was in Whole Foods, and I never took it.
Well, so you've got it now. You've got it
Yeah,
divine order.
It's really good. You'll take it.
I'm in the process of packing it. I came across it, and I'm like, why did I buy this? I never drank it. But
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. Okay.
It's perfect for that. It's amazing what this is doing. Because see, now this is the other conversation that's really important about managing the stress. And this is something that I've learned over the years, that a lot of people don't think they're under stress. But what it is the adrenal system that does not get enough water or rest, and is constantly combated by what they call chronic stress, which this is chronic stress every single day. Every single day, you have to do something to relieve it from out of the cellular structure of the body, or else it'll pile up just like anything else. And once it piles up, then it becomes clogged, and then it gets clogged, then you get sick, then you have to go to the hospital. And the last thing we need right now is to have to go to the hospital. Somebody else, how are you keeping yourself grounded and managing your stress? Thank you all. That's beautiful. All right. So what we want to do,
What did you say?
we can't hear you, Mr. Fisher.
Unmuted.
All right, there you go.
Okay, there we go. I was saying, I've taken the calm pills, and it helps with a good night's sleep.
Yes.
When you get a good night's sleep, you can do almost everything else better. At least I'm speaking for myself, but a good night's sleep is essential.
Certainly is. And right now we're going to have to become masters of that, which is really hard because I have been getting into watching Netflix. All right. So what are you doing to take care of yourself and your family together? Well, I know for me, I'll start this conversation. Go right ahead. Somebody was chiming in. Who is that?
So this is Sharona. I'm actually in the store right now. I'm sure you guys are like, what is going on with her video? But the kids want to do a game night. So we are going to be playing tonight and just spending time. And it's interesting having three teenagers in the house at the same time. So we look forward to spending this time together. And sorry, I'll mute now. It's a crying baby.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So Sharona, this is what I had hoped that would come up. I'm watching you and I don't see a mask on. I hope you have on gloves. We don't really know the depth of this. We're not really understanding exactly what is really happening, but it's going to be important to take care of our families as well by protecting them. Protect yourself, please. If we encourage, we have a family member that's a seamstress, so we had her make everybody masks so that if nothing else, you can have that. Whether it works or not, I don't know. But I know way back in the day when they used to have all kinds of viruses in here, especially in America, they had those cloth facial masks. They didn't have all of these special 3M, GM, and it worked. So I think it can work now, but it's better than nothing at all. Protecting, how are we taking care of our families? We're feeding them properly. We're not letting our children eat too much sugar, those things that can make us get sick and ill. That's the kind of
bought me one. My sister bought me one the other day. She was like, you need a girl mask. So I actually have like the official one, but like the N90, whatever it is, but I also have a girl mask that she bought me. And so I thought that was very kind of her.
Don't give your address out because we might have to come over there and get it.
Well, y'all will be fighting each other for the one. Social distancing.
Anyone else? Yes. Are we social distancing? I looked outside the other day and the playground was filled with children. And I don't know, that's not acting safe or taking care of our children. Is that right or wrong? Am I thinking
like,
right or wrong?
at least for me, my sister, she's a nurse. So when she gets home, sometimes it's very stressful because she's dealing with like the trauma at work and just trying to make sure she's safe. So I've been having to like think about how I can like take the kids, sometimes make sure she has them, but also working. And then I had an aunt that had surgery out in Oklahoma. And so just being able to like send her groceries through like the Peapod type situations or like the Amazon food, which is also getting a little tricky with their deliveries and the dates and all those things. But that's how I'm trying to take care of family. But it's very challenging because you also want to take care of yourself and not like put yourself in danger. But it can be very stressful.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So can we share some strategies, some ideas that you're using to cope, and perhaps to answer some of those questions that we heard from some others earlier, how we miss contact with our youth, we miss contact with the classroom, we miss contact with one another. What ideas or strategies that are you using to cope?
One thing that I noticed, this is Sean from Friendship, is that I was looking at some of the premier charter schools across the nation that actually have interactive lessons with foreign language from around the world. And I think that that's something that I'm going to propose to them to take a look at, because it's been working, from Mandarin to German to Russian to Amharic. And I think that that's something that we could really maybe look at expanding for our kids with that virtual learning. I know that when I had my goals in place to look at preparing our seniors for college, and how can I continue the goal of ensuring that they're going to be prepared. So as an example, I have a partnership with my sister, Dr. Vernetta Rather, who really does a fantastic job of ensuring that our girls are aware about sex trafficking. And it's huge, you know what I'm saying? Another component that I was looking into about how do you maintain and eat healthy your freshman year if you don't have a meal plan? How can you do it? And maybe doing interactive cooking, dialogue shows, I think would be huge. But we're looking at everything. But it's a tough time right now.
It is. And I think we've got to maybe even start documenting some of these strategies, because I heard today somebody was saying this could go on until June. June. So this is a whole new way of living. It's like thinking outside of the box. And this is why I want to get to some of the concepts that we're going to discuss more specifically in terms of skills a little later on in the conversation.
Well, let's also think in terms of this asset right here, Zoom. Now we know that many of our kids don't have access to this type of communication, but many do through telephones.
Yeah.
And so, we think of sitting at a desk doing this, but you don't have to. And we have to think about how to get this information this communication to all of our students.
Yes.
We have to look at grants and whatever, the corporations who got the billionaires, all these folks who talk about wanting to do good, let them take this opportunity to do good.
Do good. Yeah.
But we have to press them. They're not going to do it on their own.
That's true. And you have to do it through organizing. Anyone else? Any other strategies? I mean, right now we're all trying to figure out what to do just to eat. At this point, it's something just going into the grocery store now. So anybody have some good ideas about that?
Go super early.
Okay, so let's move right along. So this takes me into a place where, all right, so what are the two things that came up for me that I could share today that would be something different? And the first one was emotional entrainment, and the other one was transformative listening. These are restorative practice models that we teach, but I thought this might be a good forum to sit and have this conversation around. As community activists, how can we create new ideas that are outside of the box, but also just as individuals experiencing this same trauma, what can we do for our own healing? Anybody want to talk a little bit about what has happened with your emotions? If you don't mind being a bit vulnerable, even if you have to stop your video. What is happening with your emotions around this time? And do you notice what is triggering emotions that cause sadness, tearfulness, joy? Yes.
When I was speaking earlier, I said how Ebony has been a godsend because I've been an emotional wreck. Knowing that so many, especially in our community, of our students, the needs, the expectations that are not happening, the loss of learning time, loss of stability. I mean, if we're being affected as adults this way, can you imagine what the children are feeling? And how lost they are because their whole life and routine has been changed and they have no idea what's happening. So I get a little soft, and before I talk to Ebony every morning, I have to get myself together and ready to talk because I don't want her to think I'm really just a stupid reactionary person who's crying because of the situation she has no control of. And it's not just about Ebony, it's about how I feel about how I feel.
Yeah.
I want to be productive and not cry on somebody's shoulder. I want to be proactive and do something that helps the situation rather than just let my own emotions flow. But it's hard to keep it in sometimes.
So I just want to give you and anybody else permission to feel. This is no time to separate ourselves from our emotional selves. This is the right time to be in touch with and fully engage with whatever those emotions are. You know, when we teach restorative circles, we always say never have a circle without tissue, because a part of the healing comes with each tear.
Okay. Thank you.
So acknowledging that, I think, is more healthy than trying to stuff it in.
And don't ever use.
Go right ahead. Who was that?
It was Mr. Fisher. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, either Mr. Fisher or Sean, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It was me. I said, don't ever use the word stupid in the language that you use, because you're a beautiful human being, because you're on this phone call. Don't ever use that word again. Period.
Right. Absolutely. We want to shift that and see, and that really goes back to what I really wanted to bring, this whole concept of our emotions and our intentions. When we put our emotions and our intentions together, it equals manifest. And the science of it is that what sees, the eye or the brain? That's it. We have any science teachers on the line? What sees? Is it the actual eye or is it the brain?
I think it's the brain, isn't it?
It is the brain. So if it's the brain, then if we close our eyes and we create an intention, or we create a vision, or we create some type of alter reality, the brain doesn't know the difference between a visualization and a hope than the reality. So when we connect our emotions to our intention, we try to align it so that you can shift the atmosphere or create a manifestation. The science behind it is sound is faster than light. And light is faster than sound, and thought is faster than light. And when we put all three together, it equals instant manifest. So if we're all thinking with the same level of emotion, we can actually impact the atmosphere and shift it. So that's an interesting concept, huh? Mm-hmm. What comes to mind when I say that? Too much to think about? Because guess what? That's what we're going to have to learn how to master. We're going to have to start mastering our thoughts and our intention during this period of time. And it's almost like activating a superpower that most of us have lived dormant in our lives. And this is not something we can do like in 15 or 20 minutes. I'm just trying to spark your curiosity to start thinking deeper and further outside of the box. There is, and I don't have the video. I haven't figured out how to get the video through the Zoom right now without disrupting this. But Dr. Emoto's water crystal research is something that I'm gonna encourage you to do. Is to research he passed away, I think, last year. But what he did, he's a Chinese physician who was interested in intention and emotion. And what he came up with was this research project where he would go to different rivers in Japan, and he would say different things into the water, or he would write certain words and connect it to a jar of the water. And then he would take a picture of it through the microscope, and it shows up like crystals. And it's an amazing demonstration of how we as human beings are, we are 97% water. So when you speak into water, it can either change for the positive or it can change for the negative. And that's the same thing for ourselves, and more specifically for the children that are in our lives. What we say impacts us at the physiological level. What we say impacts us at the mental health level. And so I wish that we had an opportunity to get Dr. Emoto's video up here, but I don't want to try to figure that out right now. But please, please take a look at it, because it begins to open your mind to the possibility that thoughts are really things. And we can change our condition by changing our thought forms. Mm. And that's scientifically proven. Yeah. And then if we add that to, like, for example, if we were all emotionally entrained on the same, like earlier when we did our mindful moment, that created an emotional entrainment. And even though we are electronically connected, I felt the power of that peace and pause. Did anybody else feel it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so how are we feeling emotions through this computer? So we emotionally entrained ourselves. And just imagine what that would look like in a classroom. But right now, we've got to figure out how to emotionally entrain with one another by way of these airways, over the Zoom and over the phone and over, I don't know, all the different kind of ways. But there's a science behind it, and it's going to be very powerful, effective. So the essence of entrainment, it refers to a natural phenomena in which one entity resonates synchronistically with another. And when we can maintain that steady rhythm of connectedness, we're all on the same page. And ultimately, this is where managing the trauma and the stress the conversation has to start going into the brain-based theory of how to address, shift, and change, transform trauma in our lives. I'm just saying that when we are emotionally entrained and we're all on the same page, we are reducing the impact of chronic stress. One of the techniques that we teach to reach that is through what we call transformative listening. Now, when we did the meditation or the mindful moment, I was encouraging you to look at your thoughts as if they were on a movie screen and letting them go. How many people, no, don't tell us who, only keep this in your brain. How many really wanted to hold on to one of those thoughts, even though it wasn't for your highest good? But we have to practice how to release those thoughts, because thoughts are energy now. We understand that even just a simple thought can cause stress to the adrenal system. So when we find ourselves learning to listen more deeply, we're finding ourselves in a better space for understanding, comprehension, and compassion. It allows for an enormous shift in our view of one another. Listening without judgment can be a serious stress buster. And being aware and understanding and being in agreement. Anybody have any stress or trauma in your life because the people around you are not in alignment or in agreement with you? And nothing we can do about that sometimes other than shift our own thinking. But all I'm trying to say is that the stress management for this new millennium is got to be how to master our thoughts. Open the mind for new perspectives and innovative learning for self-expression. Just as Karen was saying, I really don't want to express, I don't want you to see that I might be weak. And that's not even, like, that's cancel, Karen.
Okay.
Because that has nothing to do with strength or weakness. It has to do with self-empowerment. When you can be true to yourself and speak your thoughts in your mind. What we don't want to do is to shut that down, because it's going to cause sickness. And guess what? We don't need to be in the hospital right now.
That's for sure.
So one of the things that I wanted to share is about the breath. Many of us are holding our breaths. We're holding our breath. And the more that we hold our breath, the closer to the end of life comes. There is a rhythmic flow of life that we have to get connected to, and it is an inhale and an exhale. And I always tell people that when we come into this earth, the first breath is an exhale. And if anybody has ever seen someone take their last breath, that last breath is an inhale. And so from the moment we are born until our last breath, we're in a rhythmic synergy with our own bodies, but most of us are out of touch with it. And someone said earlier, and Kamala Harris was speaking today on TV, that this virus seems to be programmed to attack those illnesses that the majority of the people in the world that have them are people of color. So our first point of defense has to first be our mind, our thoughts, and our breath. And can we take a breath together? Am I saying too much? Somebody say something. Let me go to my chat. I couldn't see my chat. Yes. Anybody else? Am I saying something that resonates, or it's just not connecting?
Yes, this is because I actually find myself holding my breath too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if you have to intentionally stop and take a deep breath and let it out, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I hold on to it too much. I think it's tension, isn't it?
It's tension. And it's also, it's, you know how we are habit creatures? We don't really learn how to breathe.
Yeah.
And I think one of the only reasons why I really understand is because I'm an opera singer. So I have to take breaths in order to sustain a note. But that's when I realized that most people, we're never taught how to breathe. And I wanted to take a few minutes to do that if I could. And I've never done this over the Zoom. Usually I can touch your stomach and I can see and give you some instruction. But what you want to do is, if you really want to practice this, because I'm telling you now, this is something that we teach our young children that are in the juvenile detention centers, how to breathe properly. Because if they find themselves ever at any time with a traumatic gunshot wound, we teach them the first thing you do is start deep breathing, because it slows down the blood flow and it increases brain functioning. It calms the parasympathetic nervous system, and it could possibly save your life. So what you want to do is just take a deep breath in through the nose, and then fill your lungs with air as if you were blowing into a balloon. So that means that your lower abdomen goes out. For men, you may not know what it's like to be pregnant, but it's like make your stomach go out just like you're pregnant. Then you hold it. And then you begin to exhale by compressing that lower abdomen and pushing all of the air out. So you inhale, and then you exhale. Until all the air is out. And immediately, it is a free elixir for the central nervous system. And if you'd like, just take a deep breath with me. Take a deep breath in. And then fill your lungs with air, but also allow that lower abdomen to come out like a balloon, and then press it in and exhale. Press all that air out until you have no more air left. And if anybody did it, can you just chime in? Tell us, how did it make you feel? What did you notice?
Relaxed me.
Yeah. And where did you feel it mostly?
When I exhaled out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Simple little things. I mean, they used to tell us that when we were children, you get so excited to say, just take 10 breaths. But what they didn't tell us is that that was really literally calming the entire nervous system, slowing down the heart rate, increasing respiration, and putting us in a place of calm. The breath is one technology that we can use to control our energy, our mood, and our attitude. But it also improves your focus. Now, I hadn't thought about, that was the relaxing breath. But then there's also another breath that is an energy breath. And I wasn't going to teach that one, but I am going to demonstrate it to you. Now, that breath, if you have a tension headache or if you have tension in your body, when you finish that breath, you literally can really be dizzy from being so light. So you want to sit down or stand in one place when you're doing that breath of fire breath. That's what they call it. So, but that's like just 2 breaths that can literally shift the atmosphere. But it also is a tool for when we're talking with others that get very anxious or overwhelmed or just cannot manage a bad depressive mood. We can just simply breathe with them. This is my favorite one, called traffic stopping. This is something that I learned when I went to a meditation Peace Village retreat. And at that particular location, every hour on the hour, they have what is called traffic stopping. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, when the music starts, you're supposed to stop for 60 seconds, taking deep breaths with the music. And I teach for the schools to do this instead of 60 seconds every hour. I say select 3 times during the day to take 30 seconds to create an emotional entrainment throughout the entire school building, simply with the breath. Then we're emotionally entrained. The whole school is now in synchronicity with one another for 30 seconds. And that will certainly shift the atmosphere. And then the last one that I wanted to share with you around shifting the atmosphere was just simple meditation. Now, a lot of people have to get beyond some of the myths around what meditation is. And for me right now, meditation is really being in touch with your inner and your outer self. That's the easiest way that I can try to explain it. By focusing on a thought, a prayer, a scripture, a color, a mantra, a sound, and just getting into that sound, getting into that vision, and just finding your entire body falling into a deep relaxation. Because to me, this is going to be our first line of defense to not get sick. If we can release chronic stress, if we can address trauma with these various tools, then we are protecting our adrenal system, which is the first thing that goes before you become severely ill. So all of this is important for us as individuals, but it's also important for our children. If we could just practice these techniques, practice these skills, if we could entrain ourselves to be on the same page, it's going to help our children to grow and to get through this trauma that we can't even imagine what it is that we're going to be experiencing. Our children just want us to see them. They want us to hear them. They want us to feel them. They want us to know them. And if we come to them after we have practiced all of what I've just shared with you, then that will shift the atmosphere into calm. And with that, I want to thank you for your attention, and I will invite Sister Ebony Rose to give us her words of encouragement, some message that you'd like to share with the circle right now.
So first, I just want to kind of express some gratitude. I literally first called Ivy yesterday because I remember seeing her at a Faith Leaders Breakfast, and she was like, I would be happy to do that. So I am just so grateful that she jumped right in and did this for us today. I'm also super grateful to our board because it really was a collective idea that we were just kind of feeling something was happening in the world. And so I thank you all just for being kind of open-minded and having a group that kind of pushes each other to be, kind of as responsive as we can. And so we would love your feedback around kind of how this went, or if there are other things that are helpful. So I think that's my gratitude. I should also just thank all of you all today, because I'm going to be honest, I was scared to have our first virtual meeting, even though I have virtual meetings at work all the time. I've been on 3 Zoom call meetings since this thing started, and I was like, that cannot happen to us. So I was a little nervous, but you all have been a wonderful virtual meeting attendees. So thank you very much for that. And I absolutely appreciated reading everyone's, especially kind of just the good things that have happened to them at the front end. We do have to do a little bit of business because we need your input just around kind of how we want to handle elections in particular, because we have some very specific bylaws. And so I apologize for kind of shifting our energy a little bit, but since we're all relaxed, I'm hoping we'll get people's kind of best thoughts. Yeah. So apologies, and just ask for your brain for a couple moments. We are supposed to have elections next month. Our bylaws actually, and then the seats that are up are the vice chair, corresponding secretary, and treasurer. Normally at this meeting, we would make an announcement about elections, and then we would say the date of elections. Our bylaws require us to have elections at our main meeting, and they actually literally require people to vote in person. That is not realistic given what's going on in the world. And so we wanted to pose two options. And if there's a different option, please let us know. We will actually release a survey because we want our body's input on how best to proceed. One option is either we can do elections in May, but we will have to do some type of virtual set up some type of virtual system, which we would still have to give the board power to do like an amendment, an ad hoc amendment to the bylaws around. The second option is to wait until this is lifted and possibly do elections. If not, depending on what it is, it might not be till fall when we reconvene. And so we wanted to put that out there because we thought that was a decision really for the body to make. Those two were our best thinking. So I want to just open up the floor and see if people had any initial thoughts around that. Yeah. So any thoughts or about a best path forward?
I'm just going to chime in. Considering the current situation in the world, not just in the Ward 7 Education Council, and we were actually I was discussing this at two other meetings today, how to handle the elections and the budget, the city budget. I think that I think you should suspend the bylaws if possible and set the election for a date where people can actually come out. Whenever that is. I can't tell you when that would be, but that to me would be a more participatory way to handle the election than to try to do it virtually.
Thanks.
That's just my suggestion. Yeah, that's just my suggestion. I don't know. Nobody else has anything to say? Okay.
Hi, this is Nzinga, and I am actually serving as the Ward 7 Education Council Corresponding Secretary, and I'm one of the positions that's up for election, so you can, of course, have that in context. I agree with Karen. I think that I always appreciate, bylaws are important, and it's important to follow protocol. But we don't have any protocol for the way that we're existing in this moment. And there are a number of really critical community, family, and school level issues that different Ward 7 Education Council members are involved in. And I think to do a virtual meeting in May with the kind of integrity, a virtual election with the kind of integrity that our elections require would take a considerable effort. And I feel like all things considered, like that effort would be better spent continuing to serve our neighbors and our constituents, and that that it would make sense to delay the election for later in the year when we have the capacity to do them.
I should say also, and I think I mentioned it, but this is still true. We will open up a survey so we can get responses from people, in case anybody is, you know, more hesitant to kind of say how they feel out loud or just want to think about it for a moment. But we did want to put it on the table and just be transparent about both like the challenge we're facing with the bylaws and kind of get some direction from the body on how to go about it. I see one question that's asking, are the people in the positions willing to stay until fall? If so, then could it stay as is and do the delay option? I believe everyone is willing to stay on until fall. No one has said they are not.
Yeah, this is Winola. I agree with Nzinga and Kara.
Yes, I'm happy, and this is Nzinga. I'm happy to continue until we can have an election.
Are there other questions?
I think waiting until you can have a open
Karen, I think you went out.
election, get out there and have people vote on it, the board. I mean, we're doing that for state board. We're pushing stuff back and having people, tell us how they feel. I mean, it's never bad to put it out there so people know what you're doing, and then they know that you're above board and that you're trying to be honest and productive. So that's not a bad idea at all. It's just, but we still never know when we're going to get out of this situation and be able to do it. So let's move forward. I think one thing I did learn today is to be positive, and because I've been in like 4 meetings with the same kind of questions coming up, is to be positive and move forward. And we can't say we're going to do it on X day, but we can keep people informed, have a plan, and keep moving.
Okay, so we'll make sure the survey goes out with the notes and the minutes, and this actually will be recorded. It is being recorded, so we can share it out. Do if people do have more questions, please let us know. I see one that says, "Will the survey results serve as a vote?" The survey results will only serve as a gauge. So like kind of how we vote on things generally, saying like how many people want this option or how many people want that option. If people pick the virtual option and say we want to move forward with election sooner, we would just have to look into some software. I will say that I actually see another question about how are we reaching people now who don't have internet to vote online. That's a good question. I mean, we would share it with our other we would share it on the listservs, and we would share it with the other like commissioners and civic association leaders in hopes that they're sharing it with people. I think that's one of the reasons we had we initially were thinking just to go ahead with the elections to stay as possible, stay as true to, well, I was thinking, I'll speak for myself. I was like, well, maybe we should just do that virtually too. But everybody can't participate that way. So we don't have a good solution for connecting with people who are online or like who do depend on, who are just on the other side of that digital divide, who are in our community. And so that's not completely fair. It's not the most democratic option, I should say. So I don't know if we have a good answer for that other than hoping people share with each other, and we can share with who we have on the membership list now. Other thoughts or questions? Because these are good questions. Where can we find the bylaws? So we are happy to share the bylaws. I think our website says if you're a member, we can email them to you. So if you request them, from our Ward 7 email address. We will share them. I will say that our bylaws currently do state that you have to vote in person, which is the big problem, and that it has to be in May. And just based on the CDC guidelines thus far, we'll still be under that restriction, no more than 10 people together. And if this continues to hold true, it seems like we're getting increasingly restricted in our movements. But Nzinga's put the email address in there. I don't know if we're important enough to get TV time like WTU and DCPS. I like to think we are, but.
Can I just share, since I actually have the bylaws up now, what we say in our bylaws?
Yeah, do you want to use the screen?
Not really. Can I read it?
Yeah.
Elections for officers shall, this is Article 8, election of officers, Section 1. Elections for officers shall nominally be held during the April or May general body meetings of each year. Up to 2 additional election dates may be approved by a vote of the simple majority of the executive committee members for the sole purpose of maximizing participation in elections. So our bylaws actually permits the executive committee to caucus and make that decision. At the same time, we wanted to make sure that we were as transparent, as engaging with the general body as possible, which is why we're having this discussion, and we'll put out the survey. And for anyone who needs a copy of the bylaws, again, email us at the Ward 7A Council and we'll make sure you get one.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I think the last thing I just want to make sure, and we'll do any announcements after this, because we always leave time for announcements. We've been doing our best, and I really want to thank Nzinga in particular for sharing out resources around like where to eat, trying to stay abreast of everything from meal sites to where Martha's Table is on any given day. And we have been doing our best to filter what's helpful versus like what's just kind of depressing. So we'll continue to kind of do those updates. We are actually participating in a coalition of organizations that's been trying to get food out to people. And Nzinga's doing those updates as well. You can find all the information for the Ward 7 COVID response group in any of our mailings. So please, like, if you or others need meals, make sure they have that information. And please direct people to the meal sites too, because I know that I've run into a lot of people, well, not run into social distancing, but I've talked to a lot of people over the phone who actually live not too far from some of their school meal sites and don't even know that they're open. So let's not take for granted that everybody has the same information. That is my announcement for the evening. Do other people have announcements?
Hi, this is Nzinga. Real briefly, I wanted to express my gratitude to all of the executive committee members and the folks working with COVID-19, the coalition. There are so many things that are happening really, really quickly. And I think that folks have generally been really gracious and generous, assuming best intent. Because things are moving so quickly, sometimes we don't get the most up-to-date update all the time. And, you know, everyone is also dealing with their own personal challenges of dealing with this trauma. So I just want to express gratitude to all of everyone who's been so patient and gracious. And I'd like to continue to encourage all of us to extend gratitude and grace to everyone that we work with, and absolutely always assuming best intentions. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that was a great announcement. Are there other announcements? All right, hearing none, I think virtual meetings must adjourn early. I'm okay with that. So it is 7:59. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. We will send out some follow up. So just thank you all and have a wonderful evening. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye. Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye.